Mercedes fans expected Lewis to come out of the gates sprinting in his chase for his 8th title, but with 3 races in the books, the British driver is experiencing a season like no other. In these 3 races, Hamilton has ranged from an unexpected high at Bahrain to a shocking low in Jeddah to a frustrating finish in Australia. It's by now no secret to anyone that Mercedes isn't the team to beat this year. There are now rumors that the 7-time world champion is growing impatient with the lack of progress Mercedes has made to give him a worthy car that can contend with Ferrari and Red Bull. But what does Mercedes have in store in terms of upgrades? And is Hamilton really frustrated? And is he now considering leaving Mercedes? Stick around to find out. Hamilton finished behind his teammate George Russell in Australia due to 2 reasons. Firstly, his car overheated, so he had to pull back. And secondly, and most importantly, Hamilton's car was fitted with ride height sensors that would pose a small weight cost compared to his teammate George Russell. Most teams would only have this sensor on their cars during free practice and remove them during qualifying and race day due to the extra weight it adds. With most teams having difficulties getting their cars below the weight limit and Mercedes being one of them, racing with the sensor was a surprising move for the team. And if you think this was a surprising move from Mercedes too, then subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Mercedes Motorsport Strategy Director James VOWELS explained their decision, saying, "There were too many questions without answers. In a normal year, you wouldn't even consider having sensors on the car. You would add what you need to make sure you understand what's going on. But obviously, this isn't a normal year and the car is overweight." But VOWELS also cleared up any misunderstanding, saying that Hamilton and Russell would always have a small weight difference between them due to the number of parts each of the drivers run. VOWELS said in an interview, "There is variability of a few grams here and there, and the actual car weight, as mentioned on the FIA scales between the 2 cars in the race, was within a few grams of each other, so Lewis did a fantastic job by carrying these extra sensors." But when asked if the sensors did its job in getting them the information that they needed, VOWELS downplayed the data that they got, saying, "It's not that from this you can suddenly find something that will turn everything on its head and we'll find a solution in one race, but it provides clues and understanding of what we need to do to move forwards." After the race in Australia, Hamilton expressed his frustrations in an interview, saying, "There is performance to be gained and we need it now, not in 2 or 3 races." And it seems like Mercedes has listened to their superstar driver, with James VOWELS insisting that the team is working day and night to get the car up to speed to compete with Ferrari and Red Bull for wins. With the multitude of problems that Mercedes has with their car, the team is still surprisingly in 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship, with Russell 2nd in the Drivers' Championship behind Leclerc. Up next on the F1 season calendar is Imola, where VOWELS says that a substantial amount of upgrades are set to debut on race day. VOWELS went on to say, "I think often people see the race team on TV and think that's the entire team. It's not. We are fortunate to have a base in Brackley and in Brixworth, with hundreds of people working every hour they possibly can to make this racing car fast, competitive, and a championship winner. The work that goes on between races is enormous. There is a turnaround of components, there are upgrades, there is an understanding of problems that we have and how do we move the performance forward, both on the PU side and also on the chassis side. The work that takes place now is a review of what has happened in Melbourne and an understanding of what we need to do going forward into Imola and progress the car into a championship winner." Mercedes needs to be fast in analysing their data from Australia, as the Imola Grand Prix would be the first of 3 sprint events after F1 had trialled the concept last year. VOWELS admitted that the upcoming race weekend would be tricky for the team, saying, "Imola's going to be a challenging event. It's our first sprint race of the season, so unlike previous events where we've had FP1, FP2 and FP3 really to get to grips with the car and test how we're going to improve the car's performance, we now just have 1 free practice session, and that free practice session dominates what happens in qualifying and in the race, so it's very limited in terms of what we can learn and what we can do." While many expected Hamilton to come out swinging this season in his chase for the 8th world title, exactly the opposite has happened, with this season being the first time that Hamilton has not had at least a 2nd place finish in the opening 3 races since 2013. Hamilton has been caught on multiple occasions venting his frustrations over the team radio for the world to hear. But unlike previous years where he had the engine advantage to just find a way, this year he doesn't have that luxury. And now with George Russell having beaten him in 2 races, Two-time F1 world champion Mika Häkkinen believes that the British driver would be sulking behind the scenes and perhaps even thinking of signing with another team. In an interview with Planet F1, Häkkinen said, "The last race in Australia was a tough spot for Lewis, really tough. It's hard to be beaten by George. George comes from a team with little or no success. He had some good results in qualifying, but not in races. For Lewis, this is a disaster. And with George being ahead, it's even worse. I wonder how Lewis behaves in the team meetings. I bet he's sulking." And now starts the natural thought process of drivers. Should I go somewhere else? It's a fact. He's been at Mercedes for years and won multiple championships. Now that things are not going well, he'll start thinking of switching teams. But what do you think? Will Mercedes be able to figure things out and keep Hamilton happy? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to DRS Zone.